Alright, well, seeing how the rest of the band of misfits are not here, we're just gonna do this, just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Manga. Wow.
Yeah.
There's way too much out there, but there's enough for us to talk about and have an understanding. Obviously, a lot of things nowadays are via, their adaptations, right? So Naruto has his manga,
Right.
Like, when you have something that runs for that long, like One Piece, there's gonna be a lot. Like, what is Naruto at? Like, I want to say, like, I know it's 700 chapters. Let's say each volume holds like anywhere from like 5 to 10, so let's call it 7. There's at least, or pretty close to, like 100 volumes, which is insane. Like Bleach,
right.
Not Bleach. One Piece is over 100 volumes, so
right.
Naruto's gonna be pretty close. But one thing I want to focus on, which if I can pull up the PDF right now, that'd be amazing. Is some of these. Actually, first I want to talk about Blue Giant. So when I started reading Blue Giant, which actually give me one moment, I can pull it out. Nah, pause. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Oh my god. Phrasing, my bad. But like, no. We're not playing. It's too early for your shit, Shadow. It's way too early because I've been editing and I've been listening to your shit for like past like 2 hours. I pulled out volume 5. Damn, I want to pull out the other volume. Pause. Don't say anything. Blue Giant, which I should have already had this pulled out. This isn't funny. So Blue Giant is actually, as you can see from this, it says volumes 5 and 6. So there's 10 volumes of Blue Giant, but they have, it's actually technically 5 published volumes because they put the volumes together.
Yeah.
Now, this story is very inspirational. It's about following your dreams and doing everything you can to be the best version of yourself. In this case, it's a kid who starts playing saxophone, wants to be the best jazz musician out there. He lives in Tokyo, and he starts learning, tries to play a few times, and you see him stumble and fail and be embarrassed here and there. And I just didn't want the shiny of the reflective thing. There was a game underneath that? Alright. Then you see him meet this musician that actually traveled overseas to go to Berkeley. Now, Berkeley, there's only 2 of those schools in the whole world. One of them's in Massachusetts, the other one's in California. It is literally the Harvard Law of Music School. You must audition. Mm-hmm. You have to go through 3 different auditions. Then you can possibly get in. And obviously, being a music school, they have their theater, their dance, all that stuff. So the teacher that this kid meets wanted to be a great jazz musician. Back when jazz was a little bit more popular, would have been in teacher's in his 40s. This is set right around modern time, so I want to say mid 2010s, right, or early 2000s. And so that means that the teacher was graduated in 1980, 1990. Traveled overseas, and he's like, I want to be a great jazz musician. I want to be a blue giant because, jazz is sometimes referred to as blues because there's a sub within the whole rhythm and blues. There's just regular blues. There's smooth jazz, funk jazz. There's so many different subsections. I'm not going to go in on this. I should have grabbed my uncle before he went to church for him to be all the subsections of jazz is this. And then he'd go into a 5-minute deep dive about each one. But as this kid grows, as the MC grows, which I actually forget his name. Oh, and it's right here. Tenor saxophone. That's the specific one that he plays, and his name is Dai. I'm not even gonna say his last name. His first name is Dai, Day, whatever. And honestly, as you see him progress, he moves from like his small little like county to Tokyo, and then he meets up with like a friend of his, and then he meets who becomes his drummer, and then he meets up with this great pianist, right? And this kid's been playing since he was like 4 years old. Kind of a lot of tension, but you see them evolve and grow as a group, and then they finally get to go and play at this like one really hot spot. Like, you know that you've made it in the world of jazz music when you've made it to like that one spot, especially in Tokyo. And them being like 19, 20 years old, like in college, some shenanigans ended up happening to the pianist, and then they had to disband. With them disbanding, like I'm not gonna go full into the story, and I'm gonna explain what happens next, because it's really something happens to the pianist. They have to disband, and right as the kid's like not knowing what he's gonna do, the tenor saxophone player, he then sees his old teacher that he hadn't seen in about like a year or two, and his teacher said, well, if you really want, like, if you go to America and try to make it in jazz, you gotta be amazing, and like you still have some growth to do. Here's what I'm gonna tell you to do. What he told him to do was go to Europe, mainly France, and then go and play in France, expand your horizons in France, and then come to find out that when you go on Amazon to try and find this, it actually has a sub-name. Yeah, which is Blue Giant Omnibus or whatever. Omnibus. It starts with the next one is Blue Giant Supreme. This is a 3-part series, and each part takes a different place in the world. And you see, like most of the story takes place in like a year to 2 years. But even then, I was like, all right, cool. No. We do not have the English version. It's not even translated into English yet. It's translated into German and French. So I was a lot disappointed. I cannot find it anywhere. I mean, I might try and find the Portuguese version, but it's like it just won't have the same sentiment to me, because then some of the idioms are gonna go right over my head. Mm-hmm. And there's actually like quite a few other inspirational manga out there, like How Heavy Are the Dumbbells You Lift. It's more educational than information. It's more educational than inspirational. And I just got another one the other day. Do you remember it? Oh yeah, Boys Run the Riot. This would have been great to have Juju here, or player she, but that's fine. Boys Run the Riot is about a group of kids creating a brand.
Before we move on to that one, I do want to add that Blue Giant really appealed to me because my little brother was a saxophone player in high school.
Really?
Yes. He did bari sax,
okay,
or baritone saxophone, and he pretty much played from around junior high all the way to like through graduating high school, to the point to where he wanted to go to college for it, but he wasn't able to land a scholarship to the school he wanted, and he's not going to play. He doesn't want to play for the school around here because I agree with him. It's not about helping the player flourish. It's about politics of the university. And not going into that, but at the same time, he did really enjoy it. I think he's exceptionally well, and that's why I liked it so much. And I actually did, I didn't dive into reading it, but I read a lot of synopsises for it. I looked up 3 different synopsises, as I was writing the script, and was pretty much learning about it, because the parallel between him learning his craft versus the manga is very, very on par, to the point to where I even sent it to him, was like, you're gonna have to give this a read sometime. Because this is more up your alley.
You know, so that's the thing. The Blue Giant was what got me reading like actual paper books, even though it's a manga. But like,
right.
And even though I only started like collecting manga, like maybe back like December of last year of 2021. But Blue Giant was the first one I bought because the cover is the very first one is just him with the saxophone, kind of like being like there, like and as someone that like is a musician that plays acoustic guitar and electric bass, I was like, and like that, he's in the zone, he's in a moment, and he's like literally feeling the vibes around him. And recent acquirement that I actually did not put in here, and this is kind of a curveball, but it's okay. I'm going to give as much as I can without spoiling too much. But it's basically around these three kids that they go and they start this clothing brand called Boys Run the Riot. There's some slight LGBT stuff in there. One of the people actually is transgender. Hold on, I want to make sure I say this right. The girl, born female, right? She believes in her mind is like, I'm a guy. Everything I do, like, I'm a guy, not a tomboy. I'm a guy. So a trans would then be considered a trans man. Honestly, there's no like any like really graphic thing about it. It's literally like that one character. They go by Rio. This other kind of degenerate looking dude. It's actually like really kind of chill. I forget his name. And then the photographer that they find. Great, amazing people. And this is only 4 volumes, which I wanted more story, but we didn't get more story. But it's all just like following your passion and obviously being in like the LGBT community, like just being who you are and saying like kind of screw it to the shackles that society says, especially nowadays. I'm looking at you, Supreme Court, with your bullshit with Roe v. Wade.
We're not going there with that.
Correct. But it like also ties in, it's like society. That's why it's like Boys Run the Riot, because we are like our mantra is going against the norms of society. It's going against the like patriarchy. So we just want to be who we are and express who we are through what we make. I was like, that kind of sounds like me and my boys in the podcast. Like we want to make things that people see. We're a little bit marginalized. That's why it's called Otaku Outsiders. Like the hardcore fans, and we're seen differently from the world. Sex at 120%. More LGBT stuff. Camera, how about we not? I know I'm kind of... There we go. This one's a little bit... Oh, no, my camera started to get fuzzy.
There you go.
This one's a little bit weird. It's at an all-girls school, right? There's only 3 volumes to this. Now, as an overall arcing thing, like when you go and you buy manga, like obviously the front cover is going to feel different than the inside and how like the pages feel. Since at 120%, if you weren't the only one here, I'd kick you. But you're the only one here today, so straight.
Hey, look, I have kept a lid on it way better than what you give me credit for, though.
I just went through the April recording, my guy. So many suspicious moments. So back to what I was saying. Most of the times the cover is different from like the pages that you're actually touching and reading and flipping through. However, the one for Sex at 120%, it's almost the exact same feel through and through. Like obviously the outside's good. Obviously the cover is going to be a little bit different, but like the inside almost feels exactly the same. It's like very small. Like all 3 of the volumes do not fit this size, like at all.
Right.
Like it's very quick. It's a lot of story to progress through. Has some LGBT things, but it's mostly talking about like women and like what they should be doing safely for. Sexual experiences. I don't know how to properly say it without sounding weird.
I know what you mean.
And it's it follows the four or five main girls in the school, and like 3 teachers. And then one of the last couple of chapters, the teacher that is not only the phys ed teacher but also the sex ed teacher, obviously. She is like coming to grips with being bisexual. Well, no, she is bisexual, but like it was never stated before. And like she has a crush on one of the other teachers, and one of the other teachers like, I don't know how to feel about this. Like I've never. This was very nice. The principal, it seems the principal or the vice principal is a guy, and one of the last chapters is talking about like LGBT, because they have like their yearly school, not performance thing, but their like showcase. And the second one that they did, because like it's been a whole year, so you see 2 of them. And they're like, oh, like let's do like one for the LGBT. And then the vice principal comes in, and the girls are like, oh, well, is he gonna say that we have to shut this down? And it's like, is he gonna make a spectacle of us? And he just like looks around. And you see him stop at the one that is gay for like the regular men, and he's like, huh, yeah, things have changed, because if I knew this back when I was your guys' age, maybe things would be different. I was like, oh, okay, principal, vice principal, I see you. Great story.
Right.
It's only like not even 20-ish chapters. But getting back to something else that I haven't touched in a minute, because it's a little bit weird, is Val X Love.
Oh, I had fun with that one.
Oh, of course you did. Pause, wow, oof, pause. Let me just make sure I grab my part of this, so like I don't. Where is it?
Let me find it. Hold on.
Abstract plus size. Oh, Val Love. Wow, Val X Love started December of 2015, so this is actually fairly new. This might get. Oh, it can't get an anime adaptation. It cannot get an anime adaptation. So,
if it does, and I find it, don't go looking for me.
Pause, my guy. Pause. Bruh, so many red flags, my guy. Well, I need a third. This is why I need. No one is responding. I'm like, guys, like.
You're like, help me.
Help me. So, you are chosen by Odin to level up his children. In this universe, his children are the Valkyries. He has 9 of them, all varying in age. I think the oldest is like in her mid to late 20s. And they are preparing for Ragnarok. For the end of the war to end all wars. And then we follow this doofus, right? Almost like Doofenshmirtz. And
yes.
you look at him and you're like, really? Him? Yes. Really. Him.
Yeah.
Him. This is who Odin chose. Is this your warrior? Yes. Yes, this is the warrior. So, again, he's chosen by Odin to help like level up the Valkyries. And how do you do it? You do acts of love and whatnot. So like, you go on dates, you make out, you do other things we're not gonna talk about, right? And it's all to like level them up. And that's literally like, it's almost like like one of those fantasy games that like you have a skill tree and you get points as you level up. Yeah, almost exactly like that. And I'm like, oh, who? What?
Right.
What horny man that played too much video games write this? That loves Norse mythology, right? And you
right.
Follow the 9 daughters, each of them varying in age. I think 3 of them go to the school that he does. I think 1 or 2 are a little bit younger, and then the rest just they're like adults, so they just stay at the house, right? And for some reason, his ma and pa are not there like a normal shonen protagonist. They gone. We don't hear anything about his pops, but we hear that his mom is gone, and his mom just wants him to be a good person. I'm like, oh, that's cute. That's adorable and kind of sad. Right. Yeah, there's this is a harem. This is a harem. Respectfully,
Basically.
it's a harem. And apparently something that I found out, which I'm going to show right now the moment I find it, is that there is a specific helmet. This bugged me because it reminded me of Dragon Ball GT and Bleach.
Right.
You see this helmet on this particular character?
Yes.
Okay, that helmet can age you up.
Really?
Yes. So let's say you're 9, and like you put on that helmet, and like you kind of wish to be older, like right around the age of the protagonist, like 15, 16. You can do that. So in theory, you are doing a time skip on your damn self. I was bothered by that tremendously. Why that's a thing, I don't know. I find it bothersome. It is what it is, right? Again, I find it extremely bothersome at like a 9-year-old turned into a 15-year-old in a matter of like 3 panels. Found it
right.
Extremely. Why? Go away. Close stream. There we go. But nonetheless, honestly, it's more like a love story harem. It's kind of a little bit weird, but I like it. And then apparently this dude has like god tier power and god tier ability, which obviously because he's chosen by Odin, he kind of has to.
Right. I mean, then again, when you have an Odin-sized task to handle.
I swear unto Jesus, my guy. I had a feeling you were gonna say something along those lines, but that's okay. Speaking of otherworld and magic, my plus-size elf. This one's actually like really cute, and it's a wee bit horny in comparison to the previous title. So imagine there's a portal, right? And you can go in between universes. But there's a caveat. You gotta wear the same when you go to and from. So like if there's a portal in my room that transports me to Elfland, I need to be weighing as much as I currently do for me to come back.
Right.
Which, I mean, if I'm in Elfland, we're gonna be making hybrid babies. I'm gonna look like a Greek god up in this bitch, right? Because I'm gonna be like Tarzan swinging for mines, just grabbing vines and shit. Loincloth, right? Ripped. Shredded. I have multiple ladies calling me daddy. So I need the rest of the, like, they have no, I'm gonna have my conversation with each of them later.
As you should.
So this, just like Val X Love, started in December, but of 2016. So fairly new. I forget how many exact volumes there are, or if it's ended. I know Val Love is on like 13 or 14, and they have more manga coming out. So, oh yeah, it's set in modern day. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, it's very much set in modern day where obesity is a problem. Obviously, it's set in Japan. So an elf girl, a regular normal elf, comes over into our world. She's like, oh my god, fried food? You fry potatoes? This shit is gas. Why? But she fell in love with our food, then she stayed, she got fat, now she can't go back. Then she goes to this clinic, and I really need my camera to stop doing this. Like, it's grabbing my microphone. You see this? It's grabbing my microphone beautifully, but me, not so much.
I mean, maybe it's a you issue.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Look at that. So she ends up going to this clinic that, like, they specialize in helping people with weight loss. And as the story progresses, yeah, she does lose the weight, but, like, she comes back. She's like, your food here is too good for me to, like, not be coming back here. And then you just continue to find more and more, like, magical girls from this world. So there's, like, this wolf, not wolf, this like dog hybrid person that she can transform into a dog. But when she transforms into a human, she still has like some of her dog features, like the tail. They're orcs, dark elves. The orc is, I want to say spicy because she's like big and kind of muscular. I'm like, ooh, crush me, mommy. Be careful what you wish for. I wish to be in between your thighs. That sound will never die. Ever. But yeah, honestly, it's a great story. I actually just got on to volume 4, and there's apparently a skeleton person, so because I accidentally bought 4 and I didn't read it because I bought 4 and 5 and I didn't read 4, so I was like so confused. I started reading 5 and I was like, huh? I'm missing plot and story right now. And I was like, wait, I didn't read volume 4. I acquired 5 and then I acquired 4, so I thought I read it, but I didn't. So my room is a dungeon rest stop. This one's kind of weird, but it's okay. So you're out there hunting, searching in the economy that we are in New England, because I know in Texas everything is cheaper, right? You're searching for an apartment, and then you find an apartment dirt cheap. You're like, why is this apartment dirt cheap? Come to find out, if you go through the front door, you're in a dungeon. But not in like a dominatrix kink talk kind of ordeal. It's like an actual, like, you're in an isekai in another world. Like, there are slimes and orcs and goblins, like that kind of shit. But it's literally, it's weird.
Suzuki Toru.
Suzuki, okay.
Yeah.
So Sue, he does a test where he's like, all right, cool. Let me just bring like a whole bunch of stuff in my bag. Let me go into the dungeon part of this and see like what's popping and see what these things do. And a lot of things from the real world actually have some good positive effects for character development and growth in like the dungeon, so whatever world the dungeon is. And it's a little, I know it's an isekai, but I wouldn't fully classify it as just an isekai. It is also Seinen? Come on, bro, you gotta help me with that one. Fantasy, yes. Comedy, slice of life, action, ecchi. I didn't. Prison school is ecchi, right?
No.
I don't say harem yet, my guy.
You gotta keep in mind that that's what
online says, so it's probably later, in later volumes. Yeah. So do be warned that it's a little bit dark. It is a fantasy, but it's a little bit dark, right?
Right.
And
that's what Goodreads listed it as. Says it right there.
Oh yeah. And honestly, I can't wait to see where the story goes, because I'm only on volume 1, and so I need to find volumes 2 and 4 to continue the story and talk about it again on a later date. So, Chainsaw Man, right? Oof.
Yeah.
This shit is dark. Dark, my guy. Like Akame got killed, Game of Thrones, it is absolutely dark. Matter of fact, I'm gonna read you the first page. Right. So
we're doing a mini reading here.
Yes. This is the first page. I'm still baffled by this because I made a TikTok, but because my page got permabanned for a minute, it disappeared. So it is what it is. Tree cutting gets me 60,000 yen a month. The kidney I just sold, 1.2 million. My right eye, 300K. Sold one of my testes. You wanna know how much I got for that? Not even 100,000 yen. That brings, all that brings my debt down to 38,040,000 yen. What? Like, way to get me hooked on your manga by the first page. That's actually the first, like, 3-4 panels. Wow. So we follow Denji, which is this lovable idiot, and his little dog. If I can show you him, I will.
You know there's a picture of him in the script, right?
I don't want to keep on clicking things. It's kind of annoying. So we follow them as they try and get out of debt.
You know what?
Shenanigans happen. Shenanigans happen. I'm moving on, my boy. Shenanigans happen, and guess what? Denji is unalived in his own manga. Very rare,
Right.
but it's like the first. It's the first volume. He gets murked.
There you go.
Woof. Still a lovable idiot nonetheless. Oh, I forgot to press one button. Oh my god. I've been showing part of this stuff for so long. But nonetheless, yeah. So he actually gets murked in the first volume. However, because the dog that he's with, which is also a demon, because demons run rampant in this world for some bizarre reason, the dog then fuses with him, thus giving him a new life, thus making him Chainsaw Man. And this shit gets dark too quickly. Get attached to absolutely no one, not an ounce. No one. Love no one. Just read the story for what it is. Idiots running around trying to do something in the world. And that's another thing too, is that even though Denji's 16, the chainsaw demon fusion is very new, but before he even turned 17, he's almost been unalive 12 times. Slight exaggeration, but it's we don't find out until right around volume 10 that there's a reason for that. So kind of making a little comparison with JJK, which we didn't bring up JJK, so kind of nice segue into JJK in a bit, is that demons exist via their name, almost like in Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen, as long as that one thing is still feared, it will always come back as a curse. So, let's say, let's use guns for example, right? Guns are feared. So there's a gun demon in Chainsaw. Well, in Jujutsu Kaisen, if guns are feared, that the negative energy, the fear, the hatred towards guns will then create the gun spirit. It could be powerful, it could not be, it just depends. Which there's a lot of parallels between JJK and Chainsaw Man.
Right.
And the only way to get rid of a curse in JJK is you have to exercise it, but if that's not the case, what you would have to do after that is get rid of people that can't use Jujutsu sorcery. Because in Jujutsu Kaisen's world, those that can use Jujutsu sorcery produce little to no curse energy. Those that cannot produce high amounts of it. So in Chainsaw Man, only demons can harm other demons, just like a stand in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Only stands can harm stands, can harm stands, and only stand users can see other stands, which is very interesting. So it's a lot of inspiration and parallels. And the way how a demon gets completely marked, that they never come back, is via the Chainsaw Man.
Right.
And via the Chainsaw Demon. Because it doesn't matter if they die in the real world, they can still come back. So if you die on Earth, you'll just be put back in hell. And then when you die in hell, you're put back on Earth. So it's it's an infinite cycle. And the only way that breaks is with the Chainsaw Devil. So when the Chainsaw Man gets there, and he does what he needs to do, you cease to exist. That shit's scary. You cease to exist because of one man. And that explains why Denji is constantly being sought after. That people are like, ooh, Chainsaw Man, yeah, we just want your heart. Because if they kill him, then he could never come back because he's a fusion. Which there are fusions out there. So there are like regular demons. There are regular people that have contact with demons, and there are fiends. And then there are those like Denji, so that they're like part human, part demon, but like it's more of a fusion. Some people like they lose their sanity. Now other people are like hybrids that they were born between the two, which kind of weird. But there's like 4 really big demons, and it's a massive fight. And when this shit gets animated, oof, it's gonna be wild. Speaking of wild, Jujutsu Kaisen, let's go back into that. So a lot of us have seen season 1. If you haven't, I highly suggest go watching it. I highly suggest you go and watch or read volume 0. A lot of good information and character development is there. If you want to pick up where the manga is after season 1, you need volume 7. Volume 7? Volume 8. It picks up right where, like, it gives... Part of the first chapter is, like, just recapping what had happened, and then they move on. You get the next arc, which is, like, a flashback. Very great, very amazing, where we get the proper character development for Gojo and Geto, which brings them full circle. So the first arc we should be seeing in season 2 is going to be that arc, which is super detrimental to the like characters of Gojo and Geto. Now, the arc immediately afterwards that brings us back to modern day, because the arc that takes place between volumes 8 and 9 happens before volume 0. So it's technically volumes 8 and 9, volume 0, volumes 1 through 7, and then 9 through 15. Well, 9 onward until there's like another flashback.
So they kind of pulled a Star Wars right there.
Yeah. And honestly, it was done right, because I didn't notice it. Like, it's not that I didn't notice it, but like as I was reading, I was like, wait, hold up. We get Gojo again but Gojo's young. And then you see Geto, but Geto's like, not aggressive. And he says a lot of things like, the strong need to protect the weak, and the strong need to keep the strong in check. Which I'm like, oh, okay, so like, you're all about like, helping the weaker people. But some shenanigans happen, which is Megumi's dad. Oh, have you seen pictures of Megumi's dad? No? The amount of fan art that's going to pop up when he gets animated? Oh my god. Call me daddy. Like, it's just... Ooh, he's built like Jotaro Kujo, but sexier. Yeah. Oh, dude, he is built different. He's built different, and his thinking process is much higher. Well, mind you, he's like maybe roughly 20 years old, so he's like probably about like 5 years older than Geto and Gojo. But his thinking process is so much higher, and he's like, oh yeah, here's like A, B, C, and D, and like this is why you failed. And apparently Megumi's dad, which now makes more sense, is actually part of the Seinen clan. If you didn't know, or for anyone that's watching that didn't know. And he left, he got married, and he took his wife's last name. That's why Megumi's last name is Fushiguro instead of Seinen. Even though that he has a familial trait from the Seinen, that's why, is also because he is that he's meant to be the next head of the family.
Right.
Which happens later on, but that's neither here nor there, and that's not really important. Which is why some people, the blood dude that we meet from season 1, he's like, oh, you're Shikigami user, and so I need to keep my distance from you and whatnot. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm just here. I'm built different because I was trained by the head of the Gojo clan. because he sees my potential and he knows like what good I can do. Which is one thing that I thoroughly enjoy from Daddy Gojo is that like he sees the potential and he's like, yeah, no, I want you on my side, not on their side. But the Shibuya arc, a lot of my friends tell me we are not ready. I will reiterate that statement right now. We are not ready for the Shibuya arc at all. Shibuya is it changes the shift of the story from what we've seen, because we've been seeing like more happy-go-lucky, some kind of life or death fights. Shibuya is dark, like from the jump, dark, because it's pure chaos and it happens all within like hours.
Right.
Like all of Shibuya, which is roughly 7 volumes, all happens within a few hours. Dude, that's insane. But that's me and that's how I think. But I find it honestly insane.
Right.
Shenanigans happen, and we find out why Yuji is so OP from the jump.